Hey everybody, it's Keith again. Welcome back to the Exodus Redux podcast, where we're trying to figure out how to get out of the world's economy, at least the work economy, and find ways to set out on our own so that we can have the ability to provide for our families, in our own businesses perhaps, as Christians, following Christian morals and values. And we just had Christmas, guys. How'd it go? We had a house full. All the kids made it this year. Both sets of parents showed up. My parents and my wife's parents. Cat, a dog, the whole bit. It was quite lively. I've also noticed since I started this podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago, man, my health has been really taking it. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but gonna have to go see the doctor, guys. Wow. I was kind of wondering if this was going to happen, and it's sort of confirmation that maybe I am on the right path here, perhaps. Let me know what you think in the comment section, but I do think that this is not an accident. There's always going to be resistance if you're doing something worthwhile, and maybe this is how it's going to come at me because I work from home. So, wow. Okay, so pray for me if you're so inclined, if you think of me at all. Mostly it's, I have a dislocated rib, of all things, and I have no idea how that happened, but my wife noticed I have a dent in my back. Isn't that wonderful? Hopefully we can find a doctor that can take care of that. But in the meantime, we're going to keep plowing forward with some of these podcasts. And I've been thinking more and more about the issues that we encounter at work in a secular company. And I really don't think that it's an accident. I don't think that it's sort of like, the denial of it. It's kind of funny. Like how so many other things are denied, like a lot of the stuff going on with the news scandals, with more stuff coming out about COVID over time. It just never ends. But they're always telling you not to believe your own eyes, believe your own ears. You're making it up. You're trying to oppress someone else. And as Christians, we're very different than the worldly response to those things. We don't want to step out of line of God's will, and we want to give him room to do what he wants to do in response. But I think that, there comes a time when it's time to take your ball and go home. And that goes for so many systems. It goes with the work that we do. It goes with the medical community. It goes with the schools, for crying out loud. We got to get out of these public schools and start taking seriously the mental health of our kids and the spiritual health of our kids. We actually want them to learn something that is applicable to their adult life, right? We don't want to bring them out as little feminists. We don't want them to come out as allies to lies. So anyway, I happened to come across an article that I saved a long time ago, 2016 to be exact. It was in Time, and it was by someone by the name of Mary Eberstadt, who I believe is Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but I can give her credit for this article because it does encapsulate what was really ramping up. It was already pretty pretty hostile. But once this is like right after Trump got elected, so things like ruined into hyperdrive in his first term. So it was, a pretty wild time as believers. And I was working in the newsroom at the time, and I noticed that, yikes, there was a lot of crazy stuff coming out of people's mouths about people of faith and people of conservative values, at least, people who just kind of want to live in reality and not, in a metaphysical construct. And I read this. It's a very short article. I'll read excerpts of it, but I know that's why I saved it, because it was like, wow, what in time, no less. I was kind of surprised. But Mary Eberstadt is an author, an essayist. She was working at some Catholic center, something about Christian culture. But she also worked for the Hoover Institution at Stanford as a senior fellow. She was an executive editor for the National Interest magazine. And she's been a speechwriter and so on and so forth. So she's been around since Reagan era, really, when she started cutting her teeth in public discourse. But I found this article pretty shocking back then, and now it's like I'm not shocked at all. It's kind of weird when I read it now. But she says in the article that, quote, traditional American Christians have long been on the losing end of culture war contests on school prayer, same-sex marriage, and other issues, but recent events include the Supreme Court decision overruling Texas's restrictions on abortion clinics and the mandates that employers provide access to contraception and have added to the sense that religious expression is under attack. Pew Research reports the percentage of Americans who describe themselves as religiously affiliated also shrunk from 2007 to 2014. The percentage who say they are absolutely certain God exists fell from 60 to 63% from 71% in that time period, which is the trend. That's not recent. That's been going on over time for a while. She also says some of the faithful have paid unexpected prices for the beliefs lately. The teacher in New Jersey suspended for giving a student a Bible. The football coach in Washington placed on leave for saying a prayer on the field at the end of a game. The chief in Atlanta fired for self-publishing a book defending Christian morals. And a Marine court-martialed for passing a Bible verse, posting a Bible verse above her desk. Anti-Christian activists hurl smears like bigot and hater at Americans who hold traditional beliefs about marriage and accuse anti-abortion Christians of waging a supposed war on women. And I find it funny that they don't believe that that's murder. Obviously, those, especially in the religious or Christian world, believe it's absolutely murder, that you are ending a life. Anyone who has the intestinal fortitude to actually see a video of an abortion will see a fetus fighting for its life in the mother's womb while the doctor is extinguishing it. And yet they're going to tell us that we shouldn't be outraged by that. She also says some Christian institutions face pressure to conform to secularist ideology or else. 100%. And I worked in a Christian university for quite a while, but I also worked in a state university. It is wild in these state universities, man. I mean, it is godlessness ground zero. My first experience to it was kind of scary, actually. I mean, I know that there are people who are living different lifestyles. I don't expect everyone to convert or else. I'm not expecting that. I do want to say that I was kind of surprised, and what was a little scary was the anger of which they wield their opposing viewpoints, if you will, their opposing lifestyles towards those who are more traditional, and how America really was for a very long time, which was, whether they like it or not, based on biblical principles. And they want to undo those things. And it starts in the academia world, of course. It starts with them from, especially nowadays, from elementary school. And it just tracks all the way through their entire educational career into their 20s. That's a long time that we have allowed these people to indoctrinate our kids. And then we wonder why our kids are confused, depressed, hostile, ambivalent about Christianity. It's time we got to get these kids out of these situations. It's our responsibility as parents to put them in a situation where they can thrive and be safe, and where they can be exposed to the true gospel, and not what, movies and television would like to tell the world we act like when we are presenting the gospel. They want to portray us as militant, as intolerant, as hateful. And when they have the bully pulpit, what can you do? All you can do is what God puts in front of you. Homeschooling, I would love to have. In fact, I've had someone say they'd be willing to come on the podcast at some point. I'd like to get some more eyes and ears on this channel before I bring her on, because I don't want to waste her time. But homeschooling is going to be the future, guys. I mean, these school shootings are not a symptom of guns. They're a symptom of hatred in our society, in our culture, toward kids. That's why there's so much insanity going on around them, and so much increase in human trafficking, sex trafficking of little kids. It's horrifying. There's no respect for innocence anymore, and we gotta protect our kids, guys. We gotta protect them the best we can. Homeschool is a great way to start, and I know that's scary. But what's scarier? You have to choose your scary, I guess. Are you scared about, I'm not going to do a very good job of educating my kid, which you don't actually do. I have gone through it. My kids did not do well at it because it is a challenge when they've already been in public school that, I don't see my friends anymore. And I understand that sentiment. That's why I feel like more of us need to be doing homeschooling, not less. Because we can obviously, in our own communities, band together with our children so that they have the social component to it. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with that, but their souls are more important than their fun time, in my opinion. And I know that's tough because you got to deal with the fallout of that sometimes, but geez, man, I mean, we got to figure out how to explain this to them, that it's just not safe in these schools, guys. Activists have, I go on with the article, activists have targeted homeschooling as being a Christian thing. Vanderbilt University and other universities and colleges have forced Christian clubs off their campus, and the NCAA has threatened to ban Christian schools from competing for titles. Efforts to shame and pressure religious Americans out of the public square has even reached the nation's campaign trails. When Bernie Sanders questioned a nominee for the Office of Management and Budget about his evangelical beliefs, it was, quote, unconstitutional religious test for public office, according to Russell Moore of the Southern Baptist Convention, who are currently also embroiled in their own fallout from wokeism. The Supreme Court's decision in Obergefell versus Hodges, which legitimized same-sex marriage nationwide, has led to conflicts between religious liberty and anti-discrimination laws. Some Christian business owners have faced legal challenges for refusing to provide services for same-sex weddings. I'm sure we can all remember the wedding cake incident. In short, the cultural free fire zone in which traditional American Christians now reside has become a place of exasperation and fear. It is as if the world around them has suddenly turned upside down. Well, that was when I was feeling it, and according to this, the author seems to feel the same way. Once Trump won, and I'm not saying Trump's a great Christian man or example at all. I know there's a lot of conflict in opinions among Christians about Trump. And, I understand why some people are put off by him. Sometimes I cringe like super hard at some of the things he says and does. But that is when I noticed, especially in the career I was in at the time, that there was some real a rising of hostility toward Christian Americans. She goes on to say the Supreme Court's Hobby Lobby decision, which allowed some businesses to opt out of the contraception mandate, was a victory for religious freedom, but it was a narrow one. And the battles over the role of religion in public life are far from over. And I agree with that. And this is, again, part of the reason why I believe we need to extricate ourselves from these places and start building our own places to provide for our families and provide the means to which to reach the world, to go to ministry, to be able to freely engage the community as believers, as Christians, with Scripture, with the gospel at the ready when the time to present it presents itself. Kind of just a side note just popped in my head. If you don't know what your spiritual gift is, whether it be prophecy, teaching, preaching, mercy, encouragement, so on, service, find that out. There's some resources out there online, and there's some tests you can take to help you identify what yours is. I really, really suggest you do that, because when you start discovering how God has gifted you with the Spirit that resides in you to affect your community, it helps you better plan and know how to engage the community with the Lord's help, with the Lord's power. I really, really was surprised to some degree, because I know my gifting, some of the people that claim to have the same gifting as me, I'm always like, wow, you're kind of a jerk. But some of that is some people say that claim their personality is their spiritual gift, and that's just baloney. It's what drives you to service. When you are confronted with different situations, some people, God bless mercy people, man. We could use a lot more mercy people, but mercy people drive me crazy sometimes because they're so emotional typically. But they see when people are hurting emotionally. They can almost empathically know when someone needs to be acknowledged that they are in need of some brotherly or sisterly love. That is really, when I see that, I'm really kind of impressed by that. I've known probably, when I think about it, 3 different people, 2 ladies and 1 guy, who are gift of mercy folks. And man, when the situation they find themselves in, the Lord sort of keys them in and directs them, and they respond. Wow, it's so cool to see how the Lord can use them and work through them, through their gifting, to say, hey man, I see you're struggling. Hey, lady, I would love to pray with you right now. I would just love to give you a hug right now. Would you like to come have lunch with us? Would you be okay if we all share in your burden right now to help with your struggle? It's great, guys. It's great. And don't because it's not a upfront frontline popular, like the prophecy and the teaching guys tend to be, the guys on the stage. And then you got the exhorters who are the life of the party guys, that everybody thinks of when they want to get together. If you're not one of those guys, if you're a service guy, man, you guys are awesome. All right, you guys are like invisibly ministering to the body. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we don't even notice it until you're not doing it, until you're not there anymore. So hats off to the service guys too. Just a little thing that popped in my head there. I thought I'd get out before I go on, but yeah, find out what your spiritual gifting is if you can. Make sure of it. Don't just assume because you're a big mouth that you're a prophet or a teacher. Okay? Really, really investigate that. Because when you know what it is, man, when the Lord, I guess, presents an opportunity for your gifting to be engaged in a situation, and you realize, you'll know, like, that was not out of my own strength. You will feel actually the opposite. You will feel emboldened, encouraged, excited when that happens. So find out. Do a little homework there. That's your homework assignment. And leave a comment in the comment section about what your spiritual gifting is, if you don't mind. For people of faith, she goes on, the answer is clear. We must stand up for our beliefs and the rights of all Americans to live according to their conscience. We must refuse to be intimidated by those who would silence us, and we must continue to engage in the public square, bringing our values and our voices to bear on the issues of the day. And again, this is the whole reason why I'm trying to understand what to do. What can we do to do this and still have our families not have to go without? When I say go without, I mean, the way people from where I'm from, in the Ozarks and in the agricultural areas, where going without means you're skipping meals, you're getting your electric turned off. I don't mean you can't get Starbucks 7 days a week. You have to go down to 5. I mean, you really are going without. For me, like, there's been, memories of Christmases. My present was an orange and socks. All right. That, as a kid, is going without. I didn't get the $70 AAA video game that, is all about highlighting transgenderism. So anyway, I just thought I'd share this article with you because this is old now. It's from 2016. And, here we are, way worse off than we were in 2016, in my opinion, in the public square anyway, in the cultural war, if you will. I won't say worse. I would just say it's more contentious because I do think there has been an awakening. I do think the sheep are starting to separate from the goats somewhat. I really think that we should encourage that. I think that we should participate in that. Not so that we don't engage the culture or the public, though. It's so we can. It's so that we can be freed up, so that we're unshackled by the concern that our boss may find out and see something on Facebook that we say that's pro-Christianity, pro-Bible, and they take exception to that and decide, we don't want that here. Well, guess what? Let's not let them have it there. Because you know what? As salt and light, that's what's preserving them. I always think lately too about Abraham's conversation with God about Sodom and Gomorrah, and really Lot and his family was the only thing that was preserving them from the impending judgment. Okay, and Abraham ultimately ended up speaking on their behalf, saying, "Hey, if there's one, would you spare them?" He's like, "Hey, get them out of there, because no, I'm gonna do it." So he sent an angel to get them out of there, and you can see like how sick that culture was. Hey, we are not that far away from Sodom and Gomorrah, guys. That whole conversation and that whole situation where the angels went to tell them to go, and the response of the other residents of that community was sick and gross, and it used to be so alien when I was a kid, and now it seems like, oh yeah, I could totally see that happening now, especially in a lot of the cities that have completely gone reprobate. And sometimes you got to give them what they want. Sometimes you got to let them have what they want, which is no God in their life, no God in their business, no God in their homes, no God in their schools. If we separate ourselves, we're basically taking ourselves out of the situation of preserving them from paying the piper, from realizing the truth of what they're doing. Sometimes, at some point, we have to say, we are no longer going to participate in the sickness that's going on in this building, in this community, and start backing off as far as relying on them. We don't want to rely on them to live. We don't want to rely on them to, on their whim, keep us employed. We can do this. We are just as... This is what's wild about this, guys, okay? I try not to get too wound up about it, but I don't know that I can not do it. I'm trying to be sort of professional, but dudes, we are the people doing the work. We're the ones that are with our heads down, working as unto the Lord, okay? Not the boss. We're not supposed to be doing that. When our boss is in direct competition with God on what's right and wrong in your job, and their demands are, you don't bring your salt and light in here, or we're going to make an example, you keep that under a bushel, I'm not saying that you guys need to get militant and get your own uniforms and start marching down the aisles like you were, a Christian version of social activists, but you are now a new creation. You can't not, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, if you have been renewed, you cannot be like them. You can't. You cannot do it. Don't do it. The price is too steep, and we're looking at the price everywhere we look in the United States right now. And I'm not saying that the United States is going to have a big revival or something. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that we all need to be able to pay our bills, to pay our taxes, to provide for our families, and to live as peacefully as possible where God has us. And sometimes that means we can't coexist in the same work environments. Let's get out of there. Let's take the skill sets that are just as good or better than theirs and unite together to start our own businesses, hire other believers as much as we possibly can, and begin to allow the Lord to be tested. It's the only place that God says to test him. Try to outgive me. I dare you. Well, I don't know about you, but most of my corporate life, and especially in education, I didn't have much more than a couple of quarters to rub together at the end of paying the bills and buying the groceries and stuff. So let's get out and let's see what God can do. Where two or more are gathered together, I'm in their midst, guys. Well, how about 330? What about 100? What about a whole corporate structure that revolves around scriptural principles, and we don't break the social contract that our government and the big corporations and our medical communities and our educational systems have done? They've all broken the social contract that they don't run against and pursue selfish endeavors that damage the public. They all are doing it. It seems like every day in my work right now, I see yet another government department, another university, another hospital system, this insurance stuff. You know, this CEO murderer who a lot of the millennials are, celebrating, and the Gen Zs and Alphas. And I get where they're coming from as far as why they think that is something to, laud, but that is going to continue until somehow the social contract is renewed. And the people that have been running these systems can't be the ones that do it. We could do it. We could be those people who create systems. If you're in the medical community, if you're in the insurance community, what's stopping us from starting, like, for instance, when I go to the doctor, I was talking about that when I started the show, I'm going to go through Christian healthcare ministries because I can't even get insured right now because my company, the people I work for, don't provide affordable health insurance. And if I were to try to go through the Obamacare system, well, it's like a month's salary just for me to insure myself. It's disgusting what they've done to it. So I understand. Believe me, I understand the visceral angst toward health insurance companies. I've experienced it myself. They don't want to pay for anything. They don't want to cover anything, even when you have been paying your premiums when you were healthy for a decade or two. But then when you need them, they pull the rug out from under you. So the difference is we are believers. We don't look to man or society to meet our needs. And there's some people out there who got together and said we can do something better than United Healthcare or Blue Cross Blue Shield. We can band together like we're supposed to and take care of the health needs of the church, especially outside of what they tell us we're not supposed to do, outside of what the world's norms are. And they pay. And I've known two people now through that system. I know there's more. This is just the one that I have been using. Christian Healthcare Ministries. No, it's not. I'm not sponsored by them. I just use their service. And it's, if you decide to go that way, it is different. It's you'll want to read the instructions when you sign up for it, but it is different because things aren't as automatic as what you're used to. But the coverage and the services that you can get from your doctor through it are definitely better. So I definitely think it's worth it. It's definitely more affordable. Look into it if you haven't already. And I noticed the world has started getting their own system that copies what the Christian organizations have been doing for quite a while now. I'm seeing ads on YouTube of people, sponsorships beginning for one that's a secular version. But look, we don't honor straight up murderers. We don't encourage murder for any reason. Obviously, that is, thou shalt not murder. It's pretty straightforward. But that's going to continue because the popularity of that guy is through the roof. People in power don't know what they're doing to do in response to the I guess rise in calls of violence toward more of these healthcare or health insurance CEOs and so forth. We're going to see more. I'd almost guarantee it that we're going to see more of that. Because they're not getting it. Like, their response is pretty pathetic. They're scared to death, rightfully so, but their response is not, oh, we're going to really try to find ways to alleviate the pain of the people that are paying our bills and paying our massive salaries and bonuses. We're going to just find more ways to protect ourselves. Wow. That's a great idea, guys. Good luck with that. So anyway, that's a long rant there at the end, but in the meantime, while you guys are trying to figure out, or we're all trying to figure out how to proceed from here, just I pray for you guys. I pray for anyone who's listening on the show that if any of this resonates with you, let me know. Let me know in the comments. You could also email me. I started a Gmail. It's exodusreduxpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to email me there and let me know what you think, or if you're interested in learning more. I'm still figuring this out because I haven't figured anything out. I really need to find some people who have figured it out, and what that, how we can duplicate that in others. Seems like it's everybody that does it are like in restaurants or, landscaping, which again, let me not say or not give the impression that I think that that's, low class or beneath me or anyone else. We need services, and Christians should be some of the best servants on the planet. But, if we can get some people in here that maybe are in a wide variety, educators, medical, corporate, whatever, like Hobby Lobby, guys, give me a call. Give me an email. You can contact me through my church, which is Florence Baptist Church. You've come to my church before. Ken Ham, do you want to talk about how, or if you've had any ideas or thoughts about this, give me a call. You're right down the street from me. Or an email, excuse me. I don't have my phone number public, but I would love to have you guys figure out a way to get you guys on this podcast, that maybe we can start getting people of like mind to start communicating together across the country and find ways that we can better serve our church, serve our families, and serve our communities, and make a change without the threat constantly, the sword of Damocles hanging over our head when the wrong person hears about it and then makes our lives miserable at best, or just gets rid of us at worst and forces us to have to start over. That's happened to me multiple times. I would say one time it was deserved. When I tried to follow the world's rules, when I gave up trying to be a good steward of my talents. And it's like, well, look, if this is what it takes for me to be able to keep my job and to get promoted and all that stuff, instead of just constantly getting demoted and constantly losing money and constantly getting laid off, maybe it's just a temporary thing I have to compromise. Yeah, guys, that's a huge mistake. Don't do it. Whatever you do, learn from this guy. Of course, God always keeps me on a short leash, believe me. Because I'm kind of wild like that. Once I get on a wild tangent, I will go 110% that direction in the wrong way until I hit a brick wall. So by God's mercy, he keeps that wall real close and handy. So don't follow that example. And then, praise God, I went back, I repented, all that, and started going back, and still got the same results, laid off every year. So let me know what you think in the comments, And email me if you like. ExodusReduxPodcast@gmail.com. Until then, I'll be praying for you and probably see you or talk to you in another week. And God bless and take care.